a paradise in the Indian Ocean, crystal clear waters, coral reefs, and vibrant marine life. But in 2020, this tropical haven was tainted black by one of the worst oil spills in recent maritime history. This is the story of the MV Wakashio, a vessel that ran aground, spilled thousands of tons of fuel, and devastated an island nation, all because of a single avoidable mistake. MV Wakashio, a Cape-size bulk carrier owned by Japan's Nagashiki Shipping and operated by Mitsui O.S.K. Lines, departed from Singapore on July 14, 2020, after taking on bunker fuel. It was a ballast voyage, meaning the vessel was not carrying cargo. Her destination, Tubarão, Brazil, where she was scheduled to load iron ore. Though she had no commercial cargo on board, the ship carried nearly 3,800 metric tons of heavy fuel oil for propulsion. Fuel that would later leak into one of the most ecologically sensitive zones on Earth. On the evening of July 25, 2020, the MV Wakashio sailed into dangerous waters, not because of weather or mechanical failure, but because of a decision driven by convenience and carelessness. Just 2 days earlier, the master had altered the voyage plan, moving a critical waypoint dangerously close, only 5 nautical miles off the coast of Mauritius, simply to help the crew get mobile phone signal. The reason? One of the crew members was celebrating a birthday, and the officers wanted to allow them to contact their families. This deviation violated standard passage planning procedures and exposed the ship to reef-strewn, poorly charted coastal waters. No small-scale coastal chart was available, and the ECDIS system was not set to the proper scale, rendering navigation unreliable. While closing in on the island, both the chief officer and master were observed using their phones, even reducing the ship's engine speed to prolong mobile coverage. Repeated VHF radio calls from the Mauritius Coast Guard went unanswered. At 7:25 p.m., the MV Wakashio struck the reef at Point Desny, a protected marine sanctuary. What began as a minor celebration had triggered the start of a national disaster. At first, the vessel remained stable, and the damage appeared manageable. But as days passed and the hull endured pounding waves, cracks began to form in the structure. On August 6, 2020, almost 2 weeks after the grounding, over 1,000 metric tons of fuel oil began leaking from the ship into the Indian Ocean. The black slick spread quickly, coating coral reefs, mangrove forests, beaches, and wildlife. The spill threatened endangered species, local fisheries, and tourism-dependent livelihoods. Despite cleanup efforts, the Wakashio broke in two. The stern section sank into deep water. After she split, Wakashio's bow section was towed into the open ocean and scuttled on 24 August. News of the oil spill sparked global outrage. Thousands of Mauritians took to the streets in protest, demanding accountability and answers. Foreign countries like France sent both military and civilian equipment and personnel from its overseas territory of Réunion, while India sent 30 tons of technical equipment for cleanup operations. Locals joined hands to help, creating makeshift oil barriers from hair, sugarcane leaves, and even clothing. The world watched as an island nation fought to save its waters. The damage was done. Over 30 kilometers of pristine coastline was affected. Wildlife died. Coral reefs suffocated. An ecological paradise was forever changed. The investigation into the MV Wakashio grounding revealed a disturbing pattern of poor judgment, lack of discipline, and violations of basic navigational protocol. It was confirmed that the master had personally altered the voyage plan on July 23, 2020, moving waypoint 23 dangerously close, only 5 nautical miles off the coast of Mauritius, so that the crew could obtain a mobile phone signal. On the day of the grounding, the master left the bridge to attend a crew member's birthday party and was reportedly consuming alcohol. During this time, the chief officer was on watch and also preoccupied with making personal calls using both mobile and and satellite phones. Neither officer was focused on navigation, and the ICDIS was not properly monitored nor set to the correct chart scale. Despite multiple warnings from Mauritius Coast Guard via VHF radio, no response came from the vessel until after the grounding occurred. When questioned, the master tried to shift blame to the chief officer, claiming he had altered course without informing or consulting him. However, AIS data, testimony, and the MAID report indicated that the master had previously approved and ordered the coastal deviation. Furthermore, both the master and chief officer were observed actively seeking signal and adjusting the ship's speed to prolong mobile access, which further contributed to the vessel's drift toward the reef. In December 2021, both officers pleaded guilty to endangering safe navigation and were sentenced to 20 months in prison. Although they were released shortly after due to time already served, the damage they had caused, both to Mauritius and to maritime safety standards, was irreversible. The oil may have been cleaned, but the scars remain. Marine biodiversity around Mauritius has been permanently altered. The spill disrupted ecosystems, economies, and communities. Nagasaki Shipping eventually paid compensation, but for many Mauritians, no amount of money can restore what was lost. Experts say the long-term impact on coral reefs and fish populations could take decades to reverse, if at all. The MV Wakashio disaster serves as a grim reminder. In the world of shipping, one careless decision can destroy what nature built over centuries. Navigation is not just about reaching a destination. It's about responsibility for people, for ecosystems, and for the future. Thank you for watching. If this story moved you, consider subscribing for more powerful real-world maritime and environmental stories.